I'd like to start out with a poem by Starhawk. It's titled Community. Somewhere there are people whom we can speak with passion without having to catch our words in our throat. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free. When I was first contacted, they wanted me to do something that was very brief and very informal because this is our business meeting. And a few weeks ago, Jane was asked to give a history of our church, and that was one of the weeks when our son was in the hospital and we weren't here. So you're going to get something very brief and something very informal because this is the one time of year when we take care of our affairs. So what we decided to do is combine these two things. And Jane is going to give you a brief history of this church and how we got started and where we are now, and then we'll talk about what we have actually accomplished.
Thank you, Bob. What I thought, there are many of you who come along a little bit later and may not know some of the stories regarding the church. So I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a man and a woman. They lived in a big city. And they decided it was too crowded, so they came to the mountain. It was a beautiful place. And they liked it. They stayed. But something was missing. A group where they could just walk and not be afraid of what they were talking about. Being in small businesses, being in small communities, you still need a core group. So the woman said to the man, let's find some people to talk to. That UU group is a good group. Let's announce about UU. And the man said, how will we do that? And I said, and the woman said, we'll call a meeting, but who's going to talk? And I said, well, you're a man. And the woman said, and you're a man who likes to read and likes to talk, and that makes a good combination for me. And the man said, it sounds like church, and I don't do that. The ad came out, and 13 people showed up in 1988, meeting at the 4-H Center. And the 4-H Center agreed to have this group, as they read about it, said that it might be a group of heretics. But the 4-H Center said, come, ask us each month, and there'll be a group day. So the group met, and the group grew. And the group decided to need a little more space. And then they decided to go to a couple of other places. But they had started collecting stuff. And as they moved first to the Oaks and then to Emory and Henry College in the administration building and in the big auditorium, the little group looked even smaller, but that was not a detriment. So what they did, what this group did, was they were a church in a box. So each Sunday that they met, somebody brought a table, somebody brought the nursery stuff, Allison, because every family had their trunk with the UU stuff in it. Somebody brought the RE stuff, because we had children. We always had a nursery and we always had children, even though it was a portable church. We had, of course, for the service, the chalice.
And here I thought it was myrrh or frankincense.
Oh, it's the UU chalice. And of course, it had many forms over time. But then, of course, one of the most important things for this group could not be without, the coffee. So, the group traveled with the UU secretly in their trunks. But when they came together as a group, a church came about. So they met at a place called the Oaks for 2 years. They met at Emory College for 2 years. And then, one day, one of the members had some tomatoes from her garden and knew a friend who would love these tomatoes. And that member, Mary Andrews, took the tomatoes to the friend, and the friend really liked the tomatoes, but she was very sad. And Mary said, "Why are you so sad today?" And the friend said, "I have to go to a sad meeting. Our church is going to have to close. We only have 6 older members, and we can't keep it open. We have a traveling minister, but we can't keep it open." And Mary said, "I have a church group that needs a building. May I come to your sad meeting?" And the friend said, "Yes, sure." That could be worked out. Well, with the negotiations of Mary and the lady, the end of the meeting was that the traveling UU group got a building for $50 a month, which would pay the utilities, and the 6 members continued to meet in the church. And this was the AME Church on B Street. So, all of the things came out of the trunks that could, for the first time, be put down in a building, and the group was happy. There was one problem. Started meeting every Sunday, and for the first time, that group was able to get it on speaker every Sunday. That was a big challenge. They paid the $50. But the problem was there wasn't a room for the children, and there were 18 children. And there was a person who said, "I'll handle them," and that was Fred Havard.
That's the reverse.
Well, the group asked the AME community and then asked the town of Abington could they put a trailer on the property. And it was agreed with AME College. So a trailer was put on the property for the 18 children and Fred, who handled
19 children.
19 children.
Like I said, it was reversed.
And these children were 6 months to 13 years. And he survived it, and we had a dynamic school, including a Christmas program run by Jennifer, with all of the trappings of Santa Claus. So, the group decided we're growing. There were 20 members by this time, and the 20 members of our small group had a discussion, should they hire a minister or build a church? The 20 members said, "We'll build a church." So with 20 people and other people involved, 2 posters were put on the back of the room at the AME Church, a basic drawing, and everyone put in their ideas, including the children. So, to make a long story short, here we are, building this wall. And thanks to those who lived before and those of you who are here, there are UUs in the mountains of Texas.
The part the lady left out is that when she told the man he was going to talk, he said, "Oh, hell, Jane, I can't do that." So where are... You bet. So, where are we today? We have a church that affords you the opportunity to hear a wide variety of speakers with absolutely no responsibility to accept or agree with what they say. You can listen to what is being said, you can take the ideas that move you, and you can leave behind the ideas that fall short. It's a free pass to listen to all of the ideas that people have and to either accept them or to reject them. It's a privilege to think for yourself in this church, to make sense out of your life with the ideas that are presented. This is a congregation where any member of this congregation can come to this pulpit and give a talk and express their ideas without consequence. You can stand in this pulpit and you can express your views without being judged or condemned or prayed for. We recite no creeds, no oaths, these things that people just repeat unconsciously. There are people in this society that think that free thought is a dangerous thing. And they say, gee whiz, that's pretty nice. You can just invent your religion any way you want to, regardless of the Word of God. And the answer that I would offer for this criticism would come in the form of the words by former Secretary General of the United Nations, Dag Hammarskjöld. He said, quote, God does not die on the day that we cease to believe in a personal deity, but we die on the day when our lives cease to be illuminated by the steady radiance renewed daily of the wonder, the source which is beyond all reason. This is a church that says, support us financially, but do it according to your current ability. This is not a church that says you must tithe 10% of your earnings. We know that there are no favors from God earned by how much we give. This is a frugal church, and we manage our funds very, very well. We probably do more with our tiny budget than most of the churches in the world. And I think it's important to recognize that in this church, a person who donates $10 is equally regarded with a person who would donate 1,000. When we do have children, our church school teaches basically elementary courses in comparative religions. I think our children have been exposed to more ideas, creativity, and self-exploration than most adults in mainline churches. This is a church where you can read any book, go to any play, listen to anyone without some most high reverend telling us which books should be read or banned from library shelves. This is a church that doesn't tell you which art is vulgar, which shows are immoral, because you think for yourself. You're treated like an adult. This is a church that promotes philosophy and a way of life that asserts that there is worth and dignity in all human beings. Not a church where your worthiness depends upon you believing exactly as I do. Sorry, my fingers don't work this morning. On February 4th, 1992, in Davos, Switzerland, Václav Havel delivered a keynote address before the World Economic Forum. And he concluded that address with the following sentence: in a word, the human spirit must be rehabilitated, close quote. I think that this church is a rehabilitation center for the human spirit. I think it is a place to rekindle our hope. It's a place to dialogue without listening to diatribes. It's a place to learn to think again, a place where we do not have to go unconscious to the realities of life. The eminent Hebrew scholar Emil Weitzer wrote the following: "It is a paradox that as knowledge increases, the mystery deepens." And you and I stand witness to the fact that most churches seem to operate on the principle, the less knowledge they have, the more convinced they are that they are right. There is nothing like this church in the area. This is a church that if I did not attend, I would be willing to support it financially because I think it is that important. This church is a religious alternative that must survive in this area, not just for us, but for future generations. Personally, I think this church is one of the best things that I have contributed to this community. I'm honored to call each of you friend. It's a joy to share the journey with you, and I hope we all continue to keep building this church for this community. Thank you.